Welcome again to Locker Room Sports Talk, and today is segment 2 of our segments on care and prevention of athletic injury. For this segment, we're going to be talking about the fact that we know that our athletes inevitably or some will be injured during the course of a season. We want to discuss the process and the protocol by which those athletes are returned to the playing fields and the courts in a safe and healthy manner. So, David Stanley, let's start with you, and maybe you can give us a little bit of information about how we handle that.
Well, we're just going to have to assume that every athlete is going to be exposed to injury. And when that injury does occur, I think one of the main things that we as athletic trainers need to instill is to keep calm. I know when an athlete has an injury, to them it's probably the biggest injury in the world. It's painful. We've all had injuries. We kind of understand that side of it. I think, but if the athlete, if we can get the athlete to calm himself or herself, it kind of expedites the evaluation process, and it kind of gets the ball moving a little faster as far as finding out exactly what's wrong, and then the appropriate care that we need to take to get that athlete up and safely return to athletics. And I think that if they can stay calm, this thing goes by so much quicker. We can get our team physicians involved if need be, and there's a lot of things that have to happen, not simultaneously, but within a short period of time, to make sure that the athlete gets the correct treatment and the correct rehab for their particular injury.
And I believe, Mike, that you mentioned in a previous segment about a Saturday morning clinic. Can you share a little bit of information about that? A lot of parents may not be aware of that.
Yes, we've been, in this community, we've been very fortunate to have groups of people that care about athletics. They care about the health and well-being of the athletes, and they care about the athletic trainers, fortunately. So we have a Saturday morning injury clinic that runs every Saturday through the 1st of November, and it's at Southwestern Medical Center, Center for Sports and Rehabilitation. And it's a 8:30 a.m. Time that parents need to have their athlete there to be evaluated. The athletes can be anywhere from 6th grade through college, and it's a free injury clinic. Won't cost you a penny.
And what, you know, we're right in the middle of football season. What seems to be the most common athletic injury?
I think, well, from what I've seen, what I can speak to is that there are, on a daily basis, there seems to be a foot, ankle injury at some point at football practice. We also have it with volleyball. Student athlete, one of their biggest injuries is the foot and ankle, and I can speak to the same for the softball teams. The foot and the ankle it's in contact with the ground at all times. It's having to slide, it's having to jump, it's having to push off and pull back, and so it is one of the most injured joints that I've found, especially this time of the year.
And Scott, maybe you could address this for me. It seems to me like what I see a great deal in college athletics as well as high school athletics, that seems to be more and more, is a torn ACL. Why do we seem to see more of that now than, say, back in the old days when I played?
Well, back in the old days, it probably still occurred. It just wasn't as well known. Kind of like we were talking about concussions in the last segment. Nowadays, kids are getting bigger, faster, and stronger, and with more force and velocity, you're going to tend to have more injuries. As far as ACLs go, I seem to have them in spurts. I'll have 1 or 2 years where I won't have any, and then I'll have a season to where I see 3 or 4. I don't know why that is, but it seems to be a trend to where you either have none or you have a lot.
And David, what about the psychology of dealing with an injured athlete. I mean, a lot of times it seems like the mental part of it is just as big a deal as the actual physical injury.
I know that I think to me that is the very last step in being totally 100%. I think a kid can tear his ACL like you mentioned earlier, and 6 months later, physically everything's fine. The leg is stronger, but mentally, that's the last phase of rehab. I tell a kid all the time, if it's not the last thing you think about before you go to bed and not the first thing you think about when you wake up, then you're deemed 100%. A lot of that, we had a kid this year that tore his ACL during wrestling season, and he was cleared in the middle of the summer, but it took him 2 months of mental anguish, is basically what he told me. Of every time he stepped down, he thought, man, am I going to do it again? Am I going to do it again? So I think that part, if I'd have known what I know now early on in my career, I may have brushed up on a lot more psychology, because I use a lot of psychology in my rehab. And when I'm working with kids, trying to get them mentally to where they're not going to be afraid to take a step or to jump or to do things that they're just so used to doing. So I think the mental part is huge, in my opinion, to get a kid 100%.
I have to go with sometimes my own experience when I think of injuries, and I know that I tore my knee up in high school, and although I had surgery, everything was supposedly fine and everything, it was not until I got in a ball game and actually got hit on that leg again, and I got up and I could still walk, and lo and behold, it was almost an epiphany, like, wow, it is okay. Are kids kind of at that situation now, particularly with knee injuries, that there has to come that time when maybe they get that contact and it all holds up and everything's fine and all of a sudden we're good?
I think there's so much pressure on these kids nowadays, especially if it's a kind of a high-profile kid, or for lack of a better term. He's thinking, am I going to mess up what I've got laid in front of me by taking a wrong step or doing something? So I think that's a huge part of it. I think being able to take a hit, getting up, brushing yourself off, regardless of the sport you're playing, and realize that, yeah, it is stronger, because the surgeries have gotten a lot better, a lot less invasive, and kids are healing up quicker. And I think that really just deals with the physical part of it, but the mental part is really a key player.
Not just with a injured athlete, but perhaps with all athletes. Is there a time when we have to educate the kid, the athlete, to know the difference between an ache or a pain associated with the sport, as opposed to being able to recognize, yes, this is an injury?
That's continuous, just about on every evaluation that we do. Some of them are actual injuries, some of them are just the aches and pains that come with playing the sport. And the hard part can be relaying to the athlete the differences in what they are feeling or what they should be feeling to have an actual injury, rather than just an ache and pain from the sport, and to physically get it through their heads to where they understand the difference. There's sometimes we can explain things 2 or 3 different ways and it's not quite hitting home yet. Each athlete's different, so you have to try and explain it a different way. It could be the same injury, the same body part you're looking at, but with 3 different kids, you may have to explain it 3 different ways.
And Mike, let me ask you this question. Do you sometimes have to perhaps enlist the parent when it comes to their kid's injury, enlist them to help you help that child?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's the parents are a vital cog in the wheel of the athletic training tire. It's we only have those student athletes X amount of hours per day, and we can only do X amount of stuff in those hours, unlike a college athlete or a professional athlete, where you could feasibly have total access to them 24 hours a day, feasibly. So it's a very crucial in what I do, and I'm sure the other guys would agree, that our parents out there are willing to do the things that we're asking them to do for their child. They're willing to go that extra mile and do the things that we're asking them to do that could further increase the chances of that child getting back sooner or healthier, or just in a better state than they are at that moment. I think the parents' role has increased in this area, in this field, because you do see so many children or student athletes that have parents that work all the time, and so they're not able to get the care at home that they need. But we really need those parents to get involved, get active with the sport, the school, and at any time that they needed to reach the athletic trainers. I know that we make ourselves available, we make our numbers available for the parents, and it's just a matter of we're here to do what's best for the student athlete. We are competitive men. We love to win, but when you boil it all down to the end of the day, our job is to care and the prevention of the injuries that are sustained by our athletes. That is the number one thing that we care about every day. When we go home, did we take care of the athletes? Did we do what was best for those athletes? Did we give those athletes the care that we would give our children? And I guarantee you that all three of us would say every time, without a doubt, yes, we do.
And I think it might be an opportunity here to digress a little from the actual care and treatment of injuries, and perhaps give y'all an opportunity to give some accolades to some students that help you. I notice at every ball game there's a lot of students there that are helping you, student trainers. So why don't you take just a second, maybe y'all can let everybody know what their role is and how they help y'all.
Basically on ours, we have the student trainers. They'll get all the water ready. It's kids that need to be taped before practice, whether it's wrists, whatever. We'll make sure that they know how to tape that area. They have to tape that area on me, and it has to feel good and supportive and everything before I let them tape on an athlete. And out of the practice field, they'll be running water to the different groups, making sure everybody stays hydrated, water's available 100% of the time. As they're running through drills, when it's not their turn to be in the drill, they can reach behind them, grab a bottle of water, and that way we work on hydration a little better.
I think that they're an extension of us, and because there's one athletic trainer at each high school and hundreds of athletes, they can be our eyes and ears during practice. And not only are they providing water to the guys or whichever team they're covering, they can also let us know if somebody's hurt, somebody's having some concussion type symptoms or whatever, because there's a lot of times, I'm over at volleyball. There's maybe a volleyball match or practice. Some kid has gotten hurt over there, and softball at the same time. So I have to be a lot of places sometimes at the same time, and knowing that I have someone there that I can trust is invaluable. And there's no way that we could do our job as effectively as we can without those kids helping us out.
I would concur with both Scott and David have said. These students are an extension of us, and if you don't have students that you can put your trust and faith in to take care of some of the basic needs of your student athletes, then you will eventually work yourself to death, because you cannot be in several places at once. You cannot evaluate 4 athletes before each practice and get every athlete taped and prepared for that upcoming practice without help. Back in the day, coaches probably tried to do a little bit of that themselves, so I'm sure they understand what we're going through in trying to prepare each team for a practice. These student athletes are invaluable. They're first aiders You know, they are our eyes and ears. They are the hydration technicians that we need, and they are as much a part, I think, of any team as anyone else. Most of these kids are, you know, they give every effort. They go the extra mile. They stay. They're the first ones there before practice, and they're generally the last ones when practice is over.
Well, as we wrap this up, and I again take you back to my day of leather helmets and shoulder pads, would we still be able to go to practice or a game and hear the term "walk it off"?
You might from someone in the stands, but you won't hear that from the sidelines, I don't believe, and you won't hear that from any of our coaches. That phrase is something that we try to not use as much anymore now. Now, jokingly, I might use it to one of these guys, you know, but
oh, the good old days, which is probably why my mind is like it is today. I didn't have all that concussion management. But we're going to close now, and Lawton Public Schools wants you to realize as parents that we have 3 outstanding certified athletic trainers and a lot of medical doctors who are taking care of your young athletes, and obviously the care and treatment that they get now has greatly improved over when I was playing football back in the good old days. For now, we're going to wrap it up. Good day, and God bless.